All right, backing up to, we'll do plumbing, gray water, laundry. Make sure we identify these on the form and try to put as much comments as you can. If gray water and clean water are mixing, because we'll need to word that in my corrections so the plumbers, or so our plumbers and the plumbers that the homeowner get can discern what I need. So make sure if footer and gray water are sharing the same sum, make sure you note that so I can make sure that they need to set another gray water box or something to pump to the system. Make sure you know if it's a gravity footer, that's fine. But make sure you note where all these things are going, and also throw in the softener in there as also. So as far as plumbing, try to give me as much detail as you can. And, if gray water, clean water are mixing, or whether laundry discharge is with the footer water going to over the hill. That's things that we need to correct. All right, page 4. All right. Page 4, I know we have, as far as the setback distances, I didn't change much on that form. I just, I did make this drawing box a little bigger, but we still have, primary treatment, yes, typically, okay. In the past, we always did like a variance if we had, code allows us to be off 10%, so if it was greater than 45 feet from a well to tank shallow leaching, then that was acceptable. If it was less than, now, in the past, before this, we always did a variance. It was always a pain for me, always a pain for the homeowner to come in, get something notarized saying, yes, I know it doesn't meet current setbacks. And there's quite a few out there. If it's inside of the basement, I really don't have an issue with that setback. It's more or less the distance from water well to tank shallow leaching has to be greater than 45 feet, or 45 feet or greater. And if it's not, now we want to alleviate all these variants as homeowners. I know a lot of inspectors are already taking water samples, just not submitting them to me. But if you do note that yes, it is less than 45 feet, and you did take a water sample. If it meets ODH code as far as clean, less than 4 or less colonies of bacteria, then it'll be acceptable. But the supervisors here said they want somebody that has some knowledge of the water system, so they want, anybody can get licensed, but you need to be a private water systems contractor, and I will verify that you are before I approve a water sample from the system. So if you're a private water systems contractor, you take a water sample and you know that it's only 40 feet from the well to the septic tank, and it comes back clean, great. If it doesn't, so if it's greater than 4 colonies, it's going to be considered a nuisance because there's some type of, it's just a matter of, and the water well code talks about if you have bacteria in the well, what needs to happen as far as chlorination, pressure chlorination, all that stuff. But if it's less than, then great, we'll push it through. We don't have to do a variance. We know there's no communication between the septic and the water well. Now, leach wells is a larger issue. 90 feet is the limit there. It's normally 100, but we get 10% of that. Same thing. If you have 85 feet, 75 feet from a leach well to a water well, take a sample. He said once again, you have to be a private water systems contractor. Take a sample. If it's clean, we're good with it. Does anybody have questions on these? I know there's some people that do inspections that aren't these, and there's some people I know that are private water systems contractors. That at least gives us some leeway to make sure that it's taken correctly. Also, I think they have to be bonded, to be a private water systems contractor. So if something's really screwed up, something shady's going on, then we can at least go back on the bond to figure out what's, if they give us wrong water results for the wrong area or something like that. So that's why we require this. That way they have to be bonded through the state, and they're able to actually work throughout the whole state at that point. But we want to have a water sample from a private water systems contractor. That gives us something to go back on if something goes wrong.
And this, just as a reminder, this is actually, even though a lot of you aren't turning in water results to us, this is when on your septic evaluation you see those distances, then the next step is going to be a water sample when you see those distances. The Water Well Code says we have to ensure that a public health nuisance doesn't exist when those distances have been violated. And the way we do that is simply by a sample. So, you know, and I want to be very honest with you here. We went back and forth on that private water systems contractor requirement because we know many of you are capable of doing that. But we had an individual who fabricated a result, turned it in, and got caught. So for those individuals who decided they want to do business that way, the rest of you suffer. So that's why we had to do the private water system contractor, because if that happens, you have a registration and you can be revoked if you do things like that. So that's why we had to go that route, mostly because of an incident like that where people fabricate results.
Any questions, more questions on that as far as distances? Yes.
If we have that and we just submit with our paperwork the lab results, can we?
I'm not going to charge you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not going to charge you for a water system. Yeah,
Right.
Just submit the 4 pages of the sewage and just include a lab result, you know, with the address and the location, all that stuff, and then because once I get that, I'll say okay, it must not meet. I'll say okay, it's only 35 feet from a septic tank, but there's no bacteria. I'll note it, and then I'm not going to charge you $25 for a water system evaluation.
Right. Exactly.
Any more questions? All right. That's about it. As far as the completed, stuff, I'm going to email, fax, prefer email because I scan them in as it is. So if I can just email, make sure I have an email address for you, I hope. And Courtney continues to invoice. Make sure you pay your invoices. If it gets too far behind, what I will do is on the last one, I'll say, this is your last one you'll get until you pay whatever $50 that you owe or something like that. So make sure you continue to pay your invoices. That's about it.
So last chance to sign in. Yes.
Do you have information on how we get our
Private water systems contractor. That's online. Just go to ODH Private Water Systems.
okay.
Look under there, and there'll be license. And I'm not sure how much that is.
It's $250 a year, I can tell you.
$250 a year.
We'll go ahead and move on here. We'll take a break here shortly. I want to go over a few things that have been issues lately, and open up for any comments that you might have on those issues. I did want to update you on the WPCLF funding. That was the funding that there were, I think, 16 septic systems that needed to be replaced, and regional planning was administering that. That has been awarded, and Marty got the award. And I think, we're about halfway done, Marty, something like that?
I got 12 done.
12 done, more than half, about
Excellent.
3/4 done. So anyway, Marty was a brave one to try that, and it is moving along, and we're getting 15 new septic systems in the ground as a result of that. I want to give you another update. Aside from it's kind of nice sometimes to see the bigger picture. The village of Marlboro is getting sanitary sewer, and they were earmarked $2 million from the federal government to make that happen a couple years ago. But our sanitary engineer has gotten its NPDES permit for a new package plant for the village of Marlboro. If you recall, that was the one that's discharging in the Walborn Reservoir, which actually feeds the City of Alliance's water supply. So that was a needed project. Along with that, the City of Alliance, because of their concerns, had been doing water sampling along the stretch of Deer Creek that feeds their reservoir, and they found the village of Limaville doing the same thing. And they submitted a complaint to us. Here we got 100 houses we got to go work with. But what has happened there is, I don't know if you know this, but the village of Limaville runs on about $18,000 budget a year, which is nearly nothing. The mayor doesn't get paid. He's plowing the streets. It's kind of a small town community up there. Exactly. So what happened there, though, is the first step in trying to get funding, because that community obviously doesn't have the money it needs to try to put infrastructure in. The first step in getting any money through the state and federal grant and funding sources is to do a feasibility study of what is the best solution for that community. Well, through the environmental director, Paul DePasquale, he facilitated this. He went to the Herbert W. Hoover Foundation, was able to get $25,000 grant to the village of Limaville to have the feasibility study done to start moving in the direction of solving the problem. that's a big step. That's unprecedented. Usually what happens is the village has to put a levy on, charge their people so many dollars a month to try to get that feasibility study paid for, and this time they didn't have to do that. And at the end of the feasibility study, there may be nothing that happens. I mean, it's a study. So it could be we're all just replacing septic systems and we're no wiser than we were. So here these residents are paying money in a levy for something that, so anyway, it would have been a difficult sell without a grant. So they are moving forward. We also, and this is very preliminary, but I'll just throw this out there so I don't want to say too much about it, is we've been meeting with the sanitary engineer, Jim Jones, about the multitude of different areas in this county that have sanitary problems, failing septics and so forth. He is working with the county commissioners to develop some plans to begin to really reach out into those areas. It's going to take years. But just as an example, in the past, I've been here 17 years. Probably about every 3 years we did a project that was a nasty project and fixed some of those. So we're on about a 3-year cycle for fixing some of these. And I think he's wanting to abbreviate that cycle a little bit and try to get some more of these problem areas resolved. So we're hoping that that's going to move in the right direction. Yes, Dan?
Anything new on Moral Allotment?
They're on the list. They after Marlboro, Limaville, Moreland's the third one on the list. And Limaville and Marlboro are already moving. So we gave them a list of the ones we felt were the biggest concerns, and they're on it.
So there is hopes for it.
Pardon me?
There is hopes for it.
There is. There's some hope. We just got to get the residents to agree that they need to do so. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on in those areas. Another reminder is there is another round of funding through that same program that Marty's working with, where they're already taking new people back on for that same funding. I think it's about a similar amount of money. So if you're dealing with a homeowner that is destitute, you can refer them to the Regional Planning Commission to have an application submitted and reviewed to see if they would fit that ticket for that project. So we're going to be doing this again in 2013, we believe. Another point of interest that kind of occurred recently in about October was I had a conversation with the State Department of Health, and they don't want us modifying leach wells. So for several years now, we have permitted different things to be done to leach wells, tear lifting, and so forth, because we understand homeowners are sometimes in that boat where they can't afford to do anything. Well, we were pretty much chastised for that, and they have told us no more. So whenever we encounter a leach well that is malfunctioning or failing, you get rid of it. Now, if you encounter one during a property transfer inspection that's working, because she wanted me to get rid of those too, I said, it can't happen. There's too many. We'd be doing leach well replacements every day. So we agreed that when they're failing, we do away with them. But if they're functioning, there's no choice. We have a choice. We got to keep those. So that's where we're at with the leach well situation. There's actually a state a code that I didn't even see before, and she pointed out to me that said the Board of Health shall ensure that leach wells are done away with. So there you have it, straight from ODH. So is there? I thought I saw a question back. Do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay. So anyway, that's the situation with that. I know what homeowners like that option. I understand that, but we're unfortunately not able to offer that option any longer. Yeah.
You don't know what Summit County, how's their take on?
I don't know. Again, when it's inspected, when you inspect it, I'm not, and it's okay. We're not messing with it. It's just when it fails. Now there are some exceptions. There are times, and I told Rebecca down at State this too. There's times when we need to keep it because we can't get enough on-lot leaching on, and we're going to pre-treat before it. We can live with that, but to avoid a discharge, that's something that they will consider. But they really want us to stop messing with leach wells. And perfect example. This is a sidebar.